Hi, my name is Kimberly from Zeidman Development. Today I'm really excited to share with you our brand new product, Audit Trail Cloud. Audit Trail Cloud allows you to track changes made in both Database View and on NXT in our dedicated web-based viewer. So let's take a look at how it works. The first thing I want to do is to make some changes to some records so we can see those in our viewer. So let's go to Database View to start with. So we'll open a record. Let's find a gift and let's make a change to that gift, which I'm sure is not something that ever happens in your database. And let's save it. And then let's make a change to the address as well. And then let's save that too. Now let's go to the same record in NXT and make some changes here as well. And we'll add a solicit code too. Okay, so now we've made those changes. Let's go to Audit Trail Cloud and we'll refresh our search. So when we come into our viewer, we'll be able to see the most recent changes at the top here, but we can also filter those results as well. So we can look at changes made between certain dates, before or after, or on a specific date, and then we choose from the dates here. We can look at specific areas of Razor's Edge. So if we wanted to look at constituent details changes, we could look at those. And if we wanted to look at a specific field within the constituent area, then we could find that here as well. So for example, we could just look at changes to names. And then we can also filter on the type of action. So we could just look at additions, just at changes, or just at deletions. So that's really useful when we want to see something specific that's been perhaps added in a day. We're going to look at everything for now. And lastly, you can look at changes made to specific records as well. So that's really useful for keeping track of your VIP addresses or anything that you know has changed on a specific day. So here we can see the changes that we made today. We can see in the columns here, we've got the change ID, the constituent ID, what happened, so whether it was a change, an addition, or a deletion. So we can see here we've got a change, here we've got an addition. We've got the area and the field within that area. We've got the date and the time it was changed, the old value and the new value, and then the name of the constituent, which is also a link to their Razor's Edge record. We can also see that with a change, we see the old and the new value. With an addition, then the old value is obviously blank and the new value is populated. And for a deletion, we'll see the old value and then the new value will be blank. You'll also see that we've got a column here called Changed By, and that is designed to show us the person who made the change in Razor's Edge. However, at the moment, that's not something that is provided to us by Blackboard, but we know that it's on their roadmap and it's going to be added very soon. So this is there for now, and as soon as we're able to tell you the person who made the change in Razor's Edge, you'll see that in your viewer there. We can also sort these results. So at the moment, I'm sorting by the date changed ascending. I can sort them ascending, and the same, I can choose the name as well if I prefer to sort that way. In addition to the audit viewer that you see here, we've also got a custom tile on Razor's Edge NXT. And this will show you any changes that are made and when they're made in exactly the same way as you see on the viewer, but directly on the constituent record. So we can see, again, we can filter on the action type. We can see the before value and the after value. We can see the date and the time it was changed. And we can see all the different changes as well just by clicking on the drop down here, so we can see each individual one and the change that's been made.
Hey everybody, it's Christine with Zeidman Development, and I am sure that you are excited by everything that Kimberly has shown you and ways that you can see the changes that have happened both in the Audit Trail Cloud viewer as well as in the Audit Trail Cloud tile. So as a former database manager and as a Razor's Edge consultant, my brain immediately looks at these tools and thinks, well, it's great that I can see that, but what am I going to do with it? So I'd like to use this opportunity as a way to show you some of the ways that I would use this. So it's helpful, especially if you're looking at a specific person. It's also helpful for looking at some global kinds of changes and things that have happened on a large scale that you may need to go back and fix. So I'd like to take a few minutes now and show you some of those kinds of things and help you think about some of the changes that this could help you find and some of the information that this can help you relocate that otherwise would be lost to you. So we're going to go ahead and start in an odd place for this demonstration. Since we're talking about a cloud tool, you wouldn't assume I would start in the database view. But I want to start in the database view because I want to show you something that I have seen happen time and time again in databases for people that I've been doing consulting with, changes that have been made that they can't fix. So we're going to start with Martha Washington today. And we have our lovely former First Lady here. And a couple things I want to point out to you why I would like to work with Martha's record. So the first one is that we have Martha's address listed as being deceased. So obviously that was never her actual mailing address, but that's what someone has typed into this box. So we can only assume that they found out that Martha had passed away. And rather than check the box here for deceased, the idea was, well, if we just write deceased in the address line, we can't send any mail, so we won't send mail we shouldn't send. And while there is some truth to that, there's also a lot of issues with that, as any good database manager knows. First of all, we don't want that to go to the mail house because then we're going to get charged for it. They could potentially pay, we would have to pay to print the letter, or we would have to pay the mail house to clean up our mailing list. Second of all, if it doesn't make it to the mail house, we're going to have to spend some time on it internally. We're going to have to clean it up. So don't really need to have a huge conversation that this is a bad data practice, but it is a bad data practice. So we want to get it out of our system. The other piece is that we really want to know where Martha last lived because it does help us to be able to make sure that our data is in fact up to date. What if Martha is listed in Razor's Edge with two separate accounts, but we can't figure out that they're actually duplicates because one of them has an address and the other one says deceased. So we really want to populate this with whatever address information we previously had so that the address is most accurate. And we also are going to definitely want to come back and we want to change this and mark the box and so that we have indicated that Martha is in fact, unfortunately, deceased. So let's go ahead and close this record here. We've identified the problem. Now let's talk about how we can use Audit Trail Cloud to fix the problem. So I'm going to go ahead and open up my version here of Audit Trail Cloud. I've got Martha Washington in my options here. I want to search for changes made to Martha. And we can see here that Martha's address was marked as 1200 Arlington Avenue, and then it was typed over with the word deceased. So I point this out to say one of the things that we could do is if we had a large group of these, rather than just opening the record and fixing it, we could always highlight our rows, copy them and paste them into a spreadsheet. Then we can use our constituent ID as a way to import that address and change Arlington to change deceased, into Arlington Avenue. So we've got an option here of a way that we can work with that data, and especially if we were working with more than just Martha. So let's say we want to see all of the changes made to those address lines. So let's come here. We're going to select address. We're going to select address lines, and let's just look at our changes. We don't really want to see our additions and deletions right now. We really want to see our changes. So you can see here, unfortunately, there has apparently been a bit of a habit in marking things as deceased or bad address. So we could easily use this information to create a spreadsheet for ourselves by copying this here, pasting it into Excel, and then you can use that data in order to update your database. Another thing that you could do with that would be making sure that any of these that say deceased, rather than leaving it here in the address, we could use this to create that import file. And we could use that as a way to check that box and mark those people as deceased. So we can actually find this bad data. We can update it on multiple levels. We can fix that address, we can fix that deceased checkbox, and we can work with all of that in order to best manage this tool. So another piece that I do want to point out while we're here in our viewer is we do have the option to find deleted records. So something else that can sometimes happen within Razor's Edge that you can't go back and find are when constituents are deleted. Obviously, that's not anyone's preference. We don't want to see that happen. But when it does happen, it's really hard to go back and find. So one of the things we can do here is to say we want to see deleted constituents. And you can see here that this constituent of Rana Russell has been deleted. So if we look here, we can actually see quite a bit of information. We can see that the record was not marked as deceased. We can see the first name, not a fundraiser, but was anonymous. We can see that lookup ID. Once we've identified that information, we can also go back and we can find address information. So we can come here and we can look for deleted addresses. So we can see which ones match to Rowena. And because we have that constituent ID, we do have an option to recreate a lot of this information that otherwise would have just been lost when the record was deleted. So quite a bit you can do to see what's happened and to find those errors. The other piece that gets deleted sometimes that we don't necessarily think about is what if you're merging code table entries? So why don't we go back to Razor's Edge database view, and we're going to come to configuration, and we're going to make a change that obviously we wouldn't want to just make accidentally if we were working on our database, but for the purpose of you being able to see what this can do for you, let's go ahead and do that. So I'm going to come down to my titles table. And I am going to do some table cleanup. So let's just say we don't think we need madam. We don't think we need, and we don't think we need sir or madam as well. And maybe we don't even want to keep sister. So we just want to, we're going to change all of those, and we're going to just change all of those to Ms. We're just thinking that might be simpler. We don't want as many table entries. Let's go ahead and click replace now. That's going to delete those table entries and replace them all. So now if I tried to query in Razor's Edge, all of those records are going to just say Ms. I don't know how many records I've changed, and I have no way to know in Razor's Edge what I just did. However, Audit Trail Cloud does keep a record of that for me. So let's go ahead and go back to Audit Trail Cloud. And let's reset our buttons here, and let's go ahead and take a quick look and see what has happened to that title field. So let's go ahead and limit our search here to title, and let's limit it to just changed, and let's do a search. So you can see here I've actually changed several different records, and unfortunately I might not have wanted to do this. So if you're working within the Catholic tradition, changing sister to Ms. is probably going to be incorrect. So we may want to go back and fix this. Now again, like I said, if we had done this in Razor's Edge and we didn't have Audit Trail Cloud, I'd have no way to isolate these people and find this. But because we've used Audit Trail Cloud here, we do have that option and we can see those changes. So quite a few different pieces you can do here. Something I would encourage you to consider doing if you're adopting Audit Trail Cloud is I would build a series of reviews that you do within the viewer here. So something that I would want to do on a regular basis would be to see all of my certain deletions or changes to specific fields. So let's just go ahead and walk through this as if we were managing a database. So I would like to do on a weekly basis, I want to see all of the changes that have happened in my system. So let's say that I wanted to do this every Monday morning and I want to see all the changes since the previous Monday. So let's go ahead and pick a date here. And maybe we want to be a little bit specific. So let's go ahead and let's look at this to say, okay, I want to see all of the changes that have been made to email addresses since last Monday. So let's go ahead and just look at those email addresses and let's do a quick search. So now we have the option to see what's happened with our email addresses. So we can actually see here, we've got a couple different accounts here. We've got Rowena. So apparently we have done a mail merge, or not a mail merge, I'm sorry, a constituent merge. And we merged this account. And so the old record had that value and it was merged onto the new record. So we can see that here with this delete and this add with the records. And both of them must have been merged into this constituent ID of 16447. So we did some duplicate cleanup. That's obviously a good thing that we want to add. And we want to see, we've also got some email addresses that appear to have been deleted. So definitely not a good thing. And we would want to go back and see why. So maybe they were deleted because somebody imported something they shouldn't have, or maybe they were deleted because we found they were invalid and we had typed them in wrong, and maybe they were never actual email addresses and we needed to clean that up. But it's a good way to know things that you may want to go back and check so that you can find what's happening within your system and keep tabs on it before you have a large scale problem. We may also want to do something similar with an address or with constituent names. We could look to see who's been marked as deceased this week. So we could just say, okay, show me all constituents that have a change to the delete field, or all changes to the delete or deceased field, sorry, not delete. And just to have a chance to see what has happened within our system so that we know what changes are being made. I hope that this has been a helpful walkthrough to give you some ideas about how Audit Trail Cloud can help you identify these changes, isolate the changes, and then use that information to make large scale fixes. So you're not limited to just clicking on the link and opening that record and fixing it, because we could copy this whole piece, paste it in a spreadsheet, and then we could use that with a tool like Importacular so that we could re-import the data back into Razor's Edge, build a template to fix what we need to fix, and you can make a lot of changes to revert your data back to where it needs to be. Thanks so much for joining us today. I'm hoping that everything we've shown you has helped you understand how Audit Trail Cloud can work for you. It can help you track your data, maintain your data, and just have better relationships with your constituents because you have a better sense of who they are and what they're passionate about.
Thanks so much for that overview, Christine. If you're interested in finding out more and getting pricing, please get in touch with us, development@zeidman.info, or on our website, www.zeidman.info. Thanks for listening.